So yeah, we're here at NetNatives HQ, and we're almost at the end of a frenetic and in some ways historical A-Levels results day. Perhaps some of the expected trends in student behaviour haven't quite materialised in the way we might have expected. And I'm joined by Murray Simpson, who's our Director of Education at NetNatives, Niall from Google, Sophie, who's one of our most experienced ad strategists, and Dave Musson, who's a content and social media expert. I just wanted to have a catch-up about the day and your experiences as we've been going along. So, Sophie, talk us through your day, the time you got here, what it's like on clearing day at NetNatives, and perhaps some of the different ways we approach clearing this year than we had done in previous years.
Cool, yeah, so we're all here bright and early at 7 a.m. just to check that everything's launched as it should have. It's also a really kind of interesting time of day in the morning to see what people are doing. So are they on social platforms looking to see what their friends are up to, or are they actively searching? So yeah, we'll be here until 7 p.m. just again to check that everything is ticking along nicely, and also updating clients and looking for particular trends throughout the day as well.
Cool. So what are some of the platforms that you've seen doing well today?
I think interestingly one for us is Facebook Messenger ads at the moment. They're quite a new ad format, and we weren't sure how they'd perform on the day just because students typically might like to pick up the phone. But for one of our clients, we've seen that they've had 80 messages in total, and they've actually made 3 offers on the platform. So that's really interesting to see. Perhaps students do want that more kind of direct conversation rather than having to pick up the phone. We're seeing interestingly as well that on Google search, people actually searching for courses, that's quite low. So people are making more of those sort of general searches and going through to the website. So I think we were having conversations that just highlights the importance of the course search functionality on websites being really good. Instagram stories in the pre-clearing phase, that was quite an interesting one. That's generated quite a few calls as well. So they're kind of the main things we're seeing our end at the moment.
Great. And we were talking a few minutes ago about perhaps some findings that there's different clicks across all platforms for different genders. Is that something?
Yeah. So this morning we did find that the highest percentage of clicks were actually coming from females. I know that was particularly on Google we were seeing that. So it'll be interesting to see if that changes throughout the day as well, but that has been the general kind of consensus at the moment.
Okay, great. So one of the key messages that we put across as an agency is about planning early, pre-clearing, and certainly our National Clearing Survey highlighted the importance of starting clearing planning early and execution almost from day one of the recruitment cycle. I guess it's a question for Murray and Sophie, but what are some of the ways you and your clients have worked together in the run-up to this day so that they have a successful day?
Well, when you say start planning early, when we say early, we don't mean June, we mean the year before, basically. So I think the most successful campaigns have been the ones that tell a bit of a story. The creative is worked on probably around December, January time, and actually clearing doesn't start in June or in July or August. It starts right from the age of 17, 18, because some students are just going to choose to go through that process now to go to university. So I'd say with planning early, I mean, we have seen this year with the clients we planned early with a huge increase in just the organic searches for their brand. So really what we want is for people to have that university at the top of their mind when it gets to results day, not just to search for clearing and hope that they're going to appear and randomly go on their page. So I would say that preparing early isn't when we say early, we mean before the time of age, really, just to make sure that when they see creative that's in June, July and August, it resonates back to what they saw in September, October, November.
Definitely. And I think on platforms like Programmatic as well, for example, we've seen really high view-through conversions, so people seeing the ad and then kind of going through to convert at a much later date. So like we're saying, it's just having that really strong kind of brand image across all the different platforms as well.
Great. And again, Murray, we've talked previously about your interest in behaviour, consumer behaviour, and applying that to what we've seen today as a snapshot. have you guys seen anything that surprised you or challenged your perceptions of what might happen on clearing day?
Yeah, I think throughout the day we've seen less searches for courses, like particularly in the morning. And that surprised me because from a consumer perspective, where students know what they're looking for, actually when it comes to clearing, I do think we've had quite a large portion of students not have given it much thought previously, which means that although we are dealing with a large portion that are savvy consumers and savvy buyers from an early stage, a lot of them are actually quite confused potentially on which course it is they actually want to go for. So in the same token though, I actually think they're becoming more consumeristic because potentially they're actually shopping around for different types of courses, which then impacts on the specific nature of how they're looking. So I'm more interested from a consumer behaviour perspective to see the results in September and when the actual enrolment dates come through, because my theory is we'll have more applications over the next few weeks than we did last year, particularly when it comes to courses, because they're taking more time to research. We've seen it in the news today, like A-level results are up, but university applications are down. But that might pick up over the next few weeks because they know they don't have to do it today. So maybe they're just taking more time to consult with parents, with peers, and maybe assumptions. That's not how we like to work, but that's my maybes and assumptions.
Yeah, so we're thinking perhaps some of those media headlines that we're seeing put out online are kind of...
Time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. Great. So yeah, we're also really lucky to be joined by Niall from Google and the Google team that came down to the Net Natives office today to work with our ad strategists and our accounts team. And I think, unless you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of our activity today is on search platforms and on Google. We do run programmatic and social campaigns, but search and Google is a big focus for us tactically and our clients. As Google Premier Partners, we've been joined by the team from Google who've been supporting our clients and our ad strats and technicians today. So not to get too much into tactical details, but is there anything that we or the listeners to this webinar should be incorporating into our campaigns from the Google Toolbox, or any products that you think have been particularly successful?
I think it's really interesting, and to touch on some of Murray's points there around clearing this year versus other years and how it's changed. And the beauty about search and why it works so well for clearing is the inputs and the outputs that come from the platform and based on user behaviour and their intent. And I think early in the morning you see people wanting to learn more about clearing, that it's still all to play for, and then the course, that evolution into later in the day to more course specific terms, and that it's not just a one day event, and that search plays an important element for a university media strategy all year long, and it's really, really important to build that in terms of a kind of a product that's worked really, really well and been successful today. I think audience is really, really important, and understanding users and in their research and consideration phase, and then leveraging that in the moments that matter, and then bidding more effectively so you can use the allocated budget that you have, like the guys here at Net Natives do. You can really, really maximise your budget and get really strong returns from your campaigns.
And I think having access to products like visual site links as well, we've seen much higher click-through rates with that ad format. So that's something that we've been running across kind of most of our campaigns, just because I think the visual identity that it gives really means that people click through. So that's another thing that we've really seen our end as well.
Definitely. Students are on mobile, and any format that we can kind of adapt and develop that makes it more appealing and more interactive for students really, really delivers results when you need it.
Great. And you personally, Niall, how are you enjoying being here and the buzz around Net Natives?
It's great to be here and to see the team at work. The guys here are really, really experts at what they do, and they take it with such ease and really are considered in every change and approach they make to campaigns so that it does the right thing for their clients. And with that in mind, with the dashboards and the reporting that's available for their clients, it's really, really refreshing to see, and the agility of the team to adapt based on what's happening in the real world outside.
So I think you kind of just answered it, but just to confirm, everyone knows that students are on Google and searching, and so do university marketeers at every institute. So the key is in the detail and the optimization, right, and being agile. So it's not just one campaign fits all. But tell us a little bit about the level of optimization that you've seen working here today.
I think it's really, really important, and I think all the planning stages and the consideration that goes in pre-clearing, being able to adapt to what's actually happening, particularly around mobile, and particularly this year with the changes around course searches not happening as early as they previously have done, is really, really important. And just moving the needle when you need to drive performance from a campaign is really, really important. And the guys here are experts at it.
Great. So we've also been turning our social listening tools onto important phrases and looking at the level of conversations that have been going across all sorts of different platforms. And the guys have run us off a report here just showing where those conversations have peaked and how perhaps they're tailing off during the day. If I just show you guys for a second, is there anything there that surprises you? Looks like the peak conversations around about 9:30 this morning and fairly sustained through the morning, but also it looks like conversation levels were really quite high from very early in the morning, 7 o'clock. Is there anything on there that surprises you? Or I just thought as well we'd have a quick look at the top 3 tweets from today. So Jeremy Clarkson with his now annual jokey tweet. Is it funny? I'm not sure. If you don't get the right A-level results, don't worry. I got a C and 2 U's and my chef is preparing truffles for breakfast. Wow. There you go. Yeah. And interestingly, this second tweet, which was the 2 hashtags there, Swig and GMB, were also the most commonly used phrases during that peak time. And that was some students celebrating A-levels the only way he should live, and that was catching a student opening his results live with someone behind him drinking from a hip flask. And that was the 2 most trending hashtags over that peak period. So again,
I think it's
quite surprising
to see as well that they're not taking themselves too seriously. It is quite jokey. So this morning when we logged onto Twitter, a lot of people were posting like GIFs and funny things. So I think if universities are willing to take more risks and be a bit more jokey and use the GIFs and that kind of thing, then it will resonate really well with students.
Yeah, that's great. And that was going to be my point as well. With, the final one was a bit of satire. Theresa May, clone account. Congratulations to all A-level students getting results today. I look forward to taking all your money in due course. So there we go. Top 3 tweets of the day. And so Dave, you've been looking at social day and content and creating content. I just thought maybe we'd finish up with your views and what you've seen today that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo some of the things we've just said. Like, you look at the hashtags, the 2 hashtags I've been looking at closely all day are Clearing 2017 and A-Level Results Day. And A-Level Results Day, like, tweets are flying through by the second, and it's either students making a joke about how badly they think they've done or how relieved they are that they actually got what they wanted. There's a plethora of GIFs being posted onto that hashtag, and then every so often there's a brand in there, and the sort of template brand tweet today seems to be positive message about A-Level Results Day, include the hashtag and throw in a GIF. And most of them have been sort of GIFs from TV shows, apart from professional football clubs who have made their own GIFs with players celebrating. Whereas the Clearing 2017 hashtag, which you would think would be the one that people are looking to for information, and I guess this could be the case, but it feels like Clearing 2017 is much more where the institutions are posting to. So there's not as much engagement on that tag, but there's a lot of information on there and a lot of useful links. I think it's interesting looking at it and knowing from having worked in-house this time last year, for the people manning the Twitter feeds and social feeds for institutions, there's a balance to strike between dealing with the clearing queries, but also not straying from the fact that today is a day of celebration for a lot of people, and there's a lot of students who will have just got the grades they wanted and they're really happy about it. So there's lots of universities that are engaging and doing what we were saying earlier about trying to throw in some GIFs, and there's been some nice examples of sort of personalised GIFs as well. So ones that stand off the top of my head, like Newcastle have done a little animation that they're superimposing people's names onto a ticket for Newcastle. That's quite a nice thing to tweet out. Sheffield Hallam are doing real life giant retweets. So they've got a massive whiteboard that they can put letters on. It's on a red carpet, and they're picking out tweets and spelling them out and doing a stop motion video of them being spelt out, which again is a really nice piece of engaging content that has that celebratory feel. And I think that's not important to miss on a day like today, because particularly if, as we were saying earlier, if clearing's going to extend into next week and people are still researching and stuff, it's not so much about having some really groundbreaking social campaign for results day around clearing. It's the stuff you do beforehand and the stuff you continue to do from tomorrow and into next week that's really going to make the difference. So like BCU doing a roundup of 10 of the strangest questions they had from their clearing day last year. So, and throwing that out as a sort of humorous piece of content, as sort of don't ask questions like, can my mum live with me, for example. And there's a couple of brands who are being a bit more daring as well. Like Nando's is giving out free food to anyone who turns up to a Nando's today with their A-level results. So you can have a cheeky Nando's for free today, which I'm sure is something that most people will like. Being a vegetarian, it doesn't appeal to me, but you know.
Oh, that's great. I think that's probably quite a nice, positive, empowering note to end on, and a message for all the institutions that, as Murray was saying, that clearing will be continuing right up there, and not to perhaps listen to those headlines that are being put out there, and to keep pushing, because we're expecting the students to be continuing their research period of their applications.
I think it's great to see an increasing number of institutions actually making offers on social platforms, so on things like Facebook Messenger and sort of in people's DM boxes, and on Snapchat and things like that, because it makes sense. If you read a lot of the mainstream media coverage of leading up to Results Day, and there's lots of talk of this generation being a phone shy generation, and you know that's not necessarily a problem. If you can go on to these platforms where they are willing to converse and make offers there, then you're going to get a return from it. And we're already seeing some interesting things, and I'm sure as we go into next week we'll see more case studies of institutions that have been able to make offers using messaging technology, and that could lead to some really interesting developments for next year.
Great. Well, that's wonderful, and we look forward to seeing how those develop. So thank you everybody, and thank you everyone for listening, and I hope everyone has a great clearing.